After yet another night, literally out in the cold, homeless, sleeping on the street, well, more like shivering all night, barely able to sleep, as I fade in and out of consciousness for brief periods from intense exhaustion, while still not being given even so much as the slightest speck of any real respect or emotional support or anything else actually pleasant or desirable from anyone I've ever considered somehow close to me in my entire life. It really seems it should be extremely painfully clear to me now that going down the extremely dark path in life is how it really has to be for me. And there was really nothing I could have ever done to really change that, with the kind of perpetual sheer hellish nightmare hand life dealt me every step of the way since childhood. After my last release, what did I see on Kimmy's following stream? Right in the very beginning.
This is the official Angels Kimmy September Foods Angels ASMR face reveal.
This comment might seem like a random, harmless joke to most people, especially people that don't have knowledge of my situation. But it's very strange to me, as if she's specifically underhandedly trying to imply there are identities she creates content under that she doesn't publicly take credit for, but does privately take credit for behind the scenes. That comment alone is just one thing, and I wouldn't have really thought much of it if she'd said something like that years ago. But for multiple reasons now, with her having done extremely shady stuff increasingly often in more recent years, especially much more recently, implying she's straight up trying to take credit for and benefit from claiming she's the one doing things I've been doing, blatantly against my consent and at my expense, I see serious reason to believe Kimmy is lying so badly about what's going on that she's seriously been trying to manipulate people into believing that I'm her, or that I owe it to her, or something to let her lie and pretend she's me, or has some kind of direct involvement in creating what I put out into the world. I don't know how long this has been happening for, but for all I know, it could have been happening for many years already. Specifically, it seems she's especially trying to somehow take credit for most, if not all, of my extremely positive and strong qualities, and my attitudes and behavior that I demonstrate because of them. And then she's trying to throw most, if not all, of her extremely toxic and negative qualities onto me, and misrepresent things I do that she tries to frame as demonstrative of those negative qualities that are in reality hers and reflected in the reality of her attitude and behavior towards me that she's been going to great lengths to hide. And as if that's not already bad enough, Kimmy's even been trying to act like she's been giving me something I wanted in acting this way, as if I've been trying to work towards being used and abandoned by her and making her look good at my expense all along, for some kind of ulterior motive. Despite the fact that I've all along repeatedly, extremely clearly stated the reality that I have no ulterior motives and I'm stating who I am and what I'm doing extremely clearly. As if it gives me power to let her pretend she's me. She probably hopes she can somehow manipulate me into believing it does. No, it doesn't. It'd just make me an idiot. A complete moron. She clearly is willing to lie to insane extents to manipulate people into getting her way. So even if I try to capitalize on her lies that I'm her, and I accept a narrative and try to use it to say things about her that she doesn't like or want to do, she'll just come up with some lie to negate it, continue to not care about actually proving things or being accountable for anything, and then do whatever she feels like doing instead, and further lie about me on top, and use whatever I would have done to validate her controlling garbage even further. If she's lying that we have some kind of contract or deal and we don't, then that means she's going to dictate the terms of whatever imaginary contract she's claiming we have, pretty much on her own whims. Especially since I'm not even attempting to balance it out by lying about having some kind of deal with her myself to benefit me, and I have no intention to ever do that. So letting her pretend I'm her only makes me a complete slave to her, which, like I've said, I'm not, never have been, and will never tolerate becoming. It's really scummy and narcissistic to try to force control over someone's life with lies like that, even if I could. I'm not trying to be a massive hypocrite and criticize Kimmy so much over the years for acting extremely narcissistic towards me, only to lower myself to the same scumbag level and validate everything she's done hurting me. That's not a genuine loving relationship. Even if she'd have some kind of trash relationship with me like that, where we'd be constantly power struggling and trying to manipulate and control each other in everything, I don't want that. That sounds miserable. I'm seriously going down the extremely dark path if that's the only kind of connection Kimmy will ever have with me. Because that kind of trash was not what I was trying to work towards all these years. When I said I'm willing to lie about certain things if Kimmy's going to extreme lows, I didn't mean lies that force her to have her life controlled by me and pretend to like me or something. I meant like, if she's going to commit to publicly lying so badly that she does something like fabricate screenshots attempting to prove that we've ever been alone together or done sexual things in person or something like that, where she's trying to blatantly fabricate evidence to validate her false narrative that I've ever consented to or benefited from or somehow deserved her treating me how she has, I'll do something like, I don't know, create some screenshots of her saying she knows she's lying, but she wants me really badly, and she touches herself to me often, and she's really mad because she feels like I don't want to be with her and do sexual stuff with her, even though she really likes me and wants to do sexual stuff with me extremely badly. That's what I meant by also saying I'd never lie about anything serious. It just defends myself against lies she's instigating me to counterattack her for presenting about me and attempting to control and ruin my life for years by trying to convince people are true. Where inventing evidence of her blatantly admitting to being extremely toxic and fake is the only realistic measure I have to defend myself from her controlling my life with her extremely deviously underhandedly toxic behavior and complete lies that don't actually do anything good for me. The fact that she's been extremely toxic and fake and controlling towards me is very much true. And she probably does actually secretly touch herself to me and secretly actually really want to do sexual stuff with me. So, in the end, I wouldn't even be lying about the reality of her character. I'd have to handle her friends or others blatantly lying publicly in similar ways a bit differently, since I wouldn't want to even throw into question if they're doing it for any kind of reason I even might enjoy, since I'm actually thoroughly uninterested in any of them or at all willing to allow any of them to even have just a business connection with me at the expense of my integrity. But I really don't care about any of them liking me at all either anyways, if that's how things are going to go. No exceptions. Just like I've already said, even Kimmy making it as clear as ever that I should just go down an extremely dark path in life does not and will never change that. It just pushes me down the extremely dark path. I've expressed before that I'm aware I motivate and inspire Kimmy to create a lot of the content she's created over the years ever since I've met her, and her heavy reactivity to my presence the whole time very clearly validates that assertion. With abundant evidence, her and her friends know for sure that I have. But I've never even once lied that I'm Kimmy or am directly involved in creating any of the content she creates anywhere. And I've never at all knowingly or intentionally let Kimmy lie that she's me or at all directly involved in creating any of the content that I put out privately or publicly. I'm not Kimmy. Kimmy is not at all directly involved in creating anything I've ever put out, privately or publicly. I'm not operating at all with any dependence on her in any way, shape, or form. I don't owe her anything, much less letting her pretend to be me or lie and take credit for my efforts. With how horrible she's treated me, if she even possesses at all any of the extremely strong positive qualities I do, like genuine dignity and self-respect and integrity, I have yet to see any substantial or adequate evidence to convince me of it. In fact, I only see abundant evidence quite to the contrary. This isn't some alter ego or incognito persona. My legal name is Bronson Aslan. The female name I prefer to go by is Sharon Park. If you're wondering where it came from, Sharon, I just sort of picked at random a long time ago because I felt like it, before I even knew Kimmy exists. Park came after because I didn't have any particular last name in mind already at the time, and it's Kimmy's last name, or at least the one she claims publicly. I don't really like or feel attached to any part of my legal name, so I figured I'd show my feelings for Kimmy more that way. I'd say I'm not particularly attractive or ugly as far as my looks go. I could put effort into looking better if I felt like it, but I don't have anyone I'm trying to impress around me, and it takes time and energy, and I don't need to look good to defend my reputation against massive lies, so I just don't feel compelling reason to care to improve my physical appearance with things being as they've been for me for a long time. I have much more important things to do in my life. I'm not ashamed of how I look, nor am I shy to show my face. I have nothing to be ashamed of, and I'm not really a shy person. But what I am is someone who's done serious jail time because of an extremely corrupt system punishing me for extremely abusive, narcissistic criminal maniacs tormenting and trying to brutally, completely control and destroy my life for years. I'm someone who's literally experienced knowing with absolute certainty that I've had actual hitmen hired to murder me, sent to end my life in real life on multiple occasions. I'm someone who's been literally homeless and eating out of trash cans to survive for the last several years, despite having no addictions or lack of maturity and principles. I know I haven't done bad things to people to be deserving of such screwed up things happening to me, but extremely evil people don't care about what's fair or right. They will do the most cruel and horrible things they think they can get away with to anyone they think they can get away with doing it to, completely for selfish gain, with absolutely zero regard for the extent of negative impact it'd have on that person's life. I've had to deal with so much that so many extremely screwed up massive pieces of garbage have inflicted on me, right from even my blood relatives since childhood, and I already have to be really careful about preserving my safety and life without plastering my face all over the internet and everything I do. I'm not particularly scared for my life right now, but I recognize the difference between not being a coward versus just being a careless, arrogant idiot with a lack of a healthy degree of caution in how I live my life with the amount of hate I get from many people, both weak and powerful. I see no compelling or adequate reason to do a face reveal anytime soon with the way things have been. There are only really 3 reasons anyone even remotely reasonable could ever consider showing their face online making sense in a situation like this. I'm going to simply brush aside the extremely disrespectful consideration anyone massively looking down on me might have, that I'm so extremely stupid and unhinged I'd show my face in a blind rage. Because that's most certainly never happening. I mean, I'm absolutely certain people would try to present reasoning for it somehow that definitely would never allow presenting it as something done blindly to seem even remotely plausible regardless. So, like I said, 3 reasons that make any kind of sense to consider for showing your face online. 1. Just generally needing your face to be known because the content you make requires it, or maybe you just want fame and to have your face recognized regardless because you really like getting attention from people. 2. Fulfilling some kind of contract or agreement to receive something in exchange. And 3. Verifying your identity so you can collaborate in content with others without people being confused or you coming off shady to potential collaborators. None of these reasons apply to me. Liking attention? Like I've already said, I don't give a damn about fame if I'm not going to have the kind of connection with Kimmy that I've wanted all along. I don't care about my face being recognized. As far as following through with my retribution going down the extremely dark path that I've been talking about, I'll already be able to attract enough attention through my game development endeavors and other things that don't require me to show my face. Fulfilling a contract or some kind of deal? Again, like I've already said, I don't have any contracts or agreements or deals with anyone to do anything. I can't imagine that I'm not being lied about so badly that people are wrongly under the impression I've already gotten or have some kind of agreement already that I'll be getting somehow compensated or cooperated with or helped for my efforts. Just completely wrong. Completely wrong. I don't don't have any agreements to act any kind of way or receive any kind of compensation or reward for anything I'm doing or have ever done, whether in my connection with Kimmy or otherwise. And it's not like I have to hold back in saying so. I've never signed a non-disclosure agreement about anything in my entire life at all, much less about anything involving Kimmy or any of her associates. Like I've already said, I will never be agreeing to anything that compromises my integrity in this matter. Never. Not that anyone's even remotely actually trying to negotiate in the first place, because they really aren't. But this seriously is not, was never, and will never be up for negotiation. I continue to only be hurt extremely badly and suffer the burden of dealing with many people lying about me entirely to my detriment. I've always shared what I share online entirely of my own volition and with extreme sincerity, with no ulterior motives. Verifying my identity to collaborate with people? Nobody is even seriously showing me or offering me any even remotely serious or genuine seeming opportunities to collaborate to begin with. They're not even showing me so much as the slightest speck of respect or decency to even directly communicate with me. So any collaboration potential is completely thrown out the window as far as I'll ever be concerned with things being that way. It's not like I need their help or have been trying to work towards collaborating with them. And again, I don't care even if people were trying to collaborate anyways, if I can't have the connection with Kimmy that I want. I'm actually seriously, in fact, going to viciously refuse any kind of help from any of them, even if they want to try to force it on me. All showing my face here does, at least as things are, is give people that I don't and shouldn't trust information about me that they don't need for any even remotely good intentions towards me, and I therefore shouldn't want or be willing to give them. It only facilitates them lying about me further and attempting to manipulate others that I'm close to them or owe them something or have some kind of contract or deal with them or whatever else garbage they're lying about for their own selfish gain completely at my expense. It only makes my life harder, gives people multiple ways to try to hurt me more to completely no benefit to me whatsoever, and effectively puts my liberty and life as a whole in only increased danger than they already extremely unjustly, wrongfully are right now. So, since I'm not a complete moron, no face reveal right now, and no promises or plans to do so anytime soon, if ever. Although Kimmy clearly was trying to provoke me to be stupid enough to do so, as if I need to, just to prove I'm not her in some incognito persona or something. Yeah, no. With the way things are, if people are going to this extent massively disrespecting me and lie all kinds of garbage about me without me showing my face, they'll obviously just come up with some massive lie about why I showed my face if I do, especially practically right after quite blatantly being provoked to by Kimmy how she deviously tried to. If they don't try to even more aggressively sabotage my integrity and ruin my life outright, they'll probably try to cast doubt on if the person in any picture or video I claim is of me is even actually me, and try to make me waste time and energy feeling the need to be convincing about it somehow and justify it. On top of, regardless, probably trying to make fun of how I look somehow because I obviously don't look like a model. So, Since I'm clearly getting literally zero respect from anyone and have no contract or deals at all to fulfill, at best, it doesn't actually help me or what I'm doing here at all, and is basically literally just even more time, energy, and stress before I'm ready to release something. And all that is completely useless. And especially since I've now become extremely painfully aware, I'm clearly already fighting a massive existential battle against several highly influential figures that are extremely serious about being extremely deviously, extremely antagonistic towards me. It'd be extremely stupid of me if I was thinking in such an easygoing best case scenario mentality when I act. Showing my face here as things have been and are would probably just have the psychopaths low-key stalking what I'm doing, hiring more hitmen to try to murder me, or calling the police trying to get me arrested for crimes I haven't even done. On top of other garbage, of course. Unsurprisingly, I saw even further ridiculous garbage being inflicted upon me extremely deviously by Kimmy and the ASMR part of the following day's stream afterwards.
Do you ever plan on uploading your ASMR VODs? I actually have a bunch of VODs ready to be uploaded. I am at the point in my life where I need an assistant or something. I need an IRL kitten or turtle. I need an IRL turtle to help me with shit. I just need somebody to help me like with my VODs and uploading things on YouTube, and oh my goodness, I'm so sorry I've been so behind on everything. I do have VODs ready to go.
I definitely have to address this. Otherwise, she's obviously going to extremely deviously try to control my life by trying to act like once again she was doing something I wanted, and yet I was the one pushing it away after supposedly acting like I'd wanted it. This is far from the first time she said something like this. She's literally said this kind of thing multiple times in the past. Specifically at times I've escalated my approach in confronting her about her lies and toxicity somehow. And every single time, it's never really amounted to anything or gone anywhere. Based on years of evidence, the only thing that really makes any sense to believe is that this is a blatantly, extremely disingenuous, garbage, pathetic lie that Kimmy's throwing out for two extremely devious reasons. First, to try to test my mental state and see if she can provoke me into begging her for such a position, or raging at her for the massive insult and underhanded existential assault towards me I know this seemingly harmless comment she made here is. Second, to try to waste my time and energy and distract me, and further try to overwhelm, exhaust, agitate, and depress me into shying away from or somehow grossly inadequately addressing the extremely severely narcissistic and abusive attitudes and behaviors she's still, even now, inflicting upon my existence relentlessly, even despite everything I clarified publicly in my last release. Not only do I not have any deals or contracts with Kimmy, I also haven't been trying to work towards some weird, pathetic thing where I'm practically begging her to be her assistant, whatever exactly that means. Also, she hasn't ever actually presented an even remotely serious seeming offer to me to be her assistant or anything else. And I'm definitely not going to beg her, nor should I. This is an insult, even if it's a serious offer. Not only for her to present it indirectly and like such a joke, but also for her to try to reduce me to such a pathetic, lazy, aloof level with my skill set and potential in life, as if the best I'm capable of or worthy of is someone doing trivial tasks for her that she could easily do herself if she wasn't out here being extremely shady and putting so much time and energy into trying to ruin people's lives with lies for her own selfish gain, so she can be lazy and make excuses to work as little as possible for the maximum benefit to herself, regardless of the harm to others. I've repeatedly made my potential and intent to act upon achieving greatness in life abundantly clear to Kimmy, and I've never done anything that should leave her under the impression I'm aiming for or will ever be okay with some kind of spoiled life where I'm basically being spoon-fed success or money or whatever off her success. I was never going to abandon my game development prospects and other endeavors for professional success, regardless. Whether Kimmy chose to be a decent human being to me and treat me properly, or she chose to head down an extremely dark path. Helping her sometimes here and there in a proper life partnership connection would be different. We'd kind of both do that for each other, and it's not something I have a problem with. So I want to make sure it's clear this can't be warped as if I'm some stubborn, selfish prick that is completely uncompromising in how I spend my time for professional stuff either. But that's not something she's choosing with her acting this way and choosing to go down the extremely dark path instead. And it should go without saying, but of course, this is only an even bigger insult I never wanted or needed or deserved or benefited from or will tolerate if Kimmy now chooses to actually follow through with getting an assistant or whatever the hell. And that is basically just an excuse to basically pursue making some kind of more serious relationship official with someone else. Based entirely on irrefutable objective evidence of her public and private behavior, I am now extremely confident I can objectively reasonably assert that Kimmy clearly doesn't really care how extremely serious the situation she's in with the state of her connection with me right now really is. She clearly actually seriously believes she can more or less treat me however the hell she wants, particularly especially badly, no matter how much I don't want or deserve or benefit from her being that way to me, and yet everything will be fine for her in the end. She's seriously over there thinking I am or should be intimidated by her passive-aggressively questioning why I'm so confrontational all the time, or her constant attempts to downplay everything horrible that I've had inflicted on me and am still having inflicted on me because of her blatant, extremely severe abuse of my genuine feelings for her. She clearly is hallucinating that she can coerce me into validating her extremely warped narrative of a horribly inaccurate perspective on the kind of person I am and the kind of life I live, one way or another. As if my life is even remotely pleasant right now, or what I've ever wanted or deserved. As if I'm not literally fighting for my life every single day, barely surviving because of the hellish nightmare of vicious, unapologetic, narcissistic, abusive, extremely severe selfishness that I've had to deal with experiencing from every person I've ever had the misfortune of being even somewhat significantly close to in my entire life, whether online or offline. As if any of the people somehow involved in me being in the extremely difficult place I am in life right now have any even remotely good reason to believe every single thing I've been saying isn't completely, thoroughly the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I'm seriously suffering so extremely brutally in every regard, despite being an extremely kind, genuine, smart, and hardworking person. It seems a lot of people really don't realize the amount of self-control and discipline I have to exercise constantly to live my life the way I do. They extremely viciously, completely selfishly, massively took advantage of my existence and literally left me out in the cold in the middle of winter as they practically flaunted, hoping I literally lose my life one way or another. And some even very much actively, aggressively trying to bring about the total destruction and end of my life. Some to the point of literally hiring hitmen to end my life. Again, in real life, if that wasn't clear enough already, hitmen. Actual hitmen. Have you ever had to experience dealing with someone hired to eliminate you in real life? Probably not. I have. More than once. And I don't even know who hired most of them. I'm seriously not role-playing at all. And I'm seriously not making anything up or exaggerating anything at all. Like I've already said, if you ever have or do hear otherwise from anything I'm saying here, you are being lied to. I'm saying this already extremely clearly, and I literally gave a full-on lawyer mode legal style disclaimer for a reason. It's really that bad how bad people's assumptions and gossip and lies about me are, and how extremely severely negatively they've impacted my life in many ways. Since the position I've been left in means it's very easy for an outside observer to misunderstand my experience or perception of dating or relationships, I should probably make sure I've clarified that early on here. If I'm not being really overly optimistic, I've never dated anyone in my entire life. Publicly or privately. Literally never even once. I don't even go on dates. So this isn't even a situation of like going on dates but not actually dating. I've straight up been single my whole life and don't go on dates or mess around with looking for a partner. I'm pretty sure it's quite a stretch to even try to seriously suggest most people would do anything except laugh at even the thought that Kimmy ever has been my girlfriend. And she's never actually acted like a girlfriend to me either, with how cold and distant she's always been towards me overall. And I've never even really been close to seriously wanting to date or being willing to date, much less actually dating anyone else in my entire life. I'm not dating or even talking to anyone right now. Based on what most would probably consider a reasonable definition of being close to someone. Forget about spending a lot of your time with them. Let's talk about even just like sharing how you're feeling or what you're doing often and stuff. I'm not close to anyone. Literally not even one person in the whole world. Online, offline, living, AI. Nobody. Nothing. I'm ultra independent. Personally, professionally, spiritually, everything. I don't even have friends at all either. I only have myself and then a bunch of extremely serious enemies committing more and more every day to being in an extremely serious war to the literal death against me, who pretend to be my friend at their convenience for their own selfish benefit, completely at my expense and against my consent, even in ways that are literally illegal. And even the government only basically watches and laughs and helps them continue doing what they're doing to me. I look at my insanely harsh, brutal life circumstances and the relentless, perpetual, sheer, hellish nightmare they are, and I know that I'd pretty much certainly literally already be physically deceased in real life, one way or another, if I didn't operate the way I do. With how many massive pieces of garbage I've had try to completely ruin and destroy my life out of jealousy and all this garbage I never deserved to have to deal with, both online and offline. The whole time, and to this day, I'm not even remotely tempted or have any desire or see any appeal in even considering ever dating anyone except Kimmy. Entirely regardless of how she feels about me or what she's done to me or anything else. It's not a lack of confidence or ability. Believe me, it's not like I've never even flirted before with anyone else in my entire life. I've seen how women react to me if I'm enjoying myself around them, feel comfortable being myself, and I feel like making them feel good about how they look or their general appeal as a romantic interest. I'm not some super socially inept, awkward person, whether online or offline. I can attract the interest of women using my male or female voice. Believe me, I have experience. I know I can even attract men. Although, that's really only shown me I have to be even more careful how I live my life, because that's never been something I was going for. I wouldn't say I have social anxiety at all. It's a separate matter that I intentionally prefer to generally avoid human interaction because of humanity's track record being exceedingly terrible with how people treat me if I get even somewhat considerably close to them for any reason. One that I see from the perspective of functional efficiency and not so much some emotional turmoil, but surface level human interaction is very easy to me. It also tends to be rather boring and feel like a massive waste of time in most cases. And I don't have time to waste. I know I could get other women if I really wanted, but there will never be any even remotely adequate reason for me to ever pursue or tolerate a romantic connection with anyone I don't actually want it with. And I guess I should just start accepting, Kimmy wants to make it extremely painfully clear to me once and for all that I really don't get a decent or tolerable relationship with even just her either, who is the one person I actually want. So, the extremely dark path in life it really always was going to be, no matter what I ever did then. I have no doubts or regrets. It's not like Kimmy's doing anything that actually shows me any serious desire or gives me any serious reason to even slightly doubt it, since she's showing absolutely zero real desire or intent to directly communicate with me in a timely manner and actually start treating me properly. So I have no reason or room to doubt or regret anything. I gave it my best effort, but my best was clearly just never going to be enough. It never mattered to her. She clearly was always just trying to use me and control me and destroy my life for her own selfish gain, no matter what. I've meant everything I've said. Kimmy is the one choosing this with her attitude and behavior. And like I've always said, she will get what she deserves. And the entire world should have absolutely no mercy or pity on her or any sympathy for her whatsoever, just like I won't either. Nor should anyone have any mercy or pity or sympathy on any of her friends or anyone else that's been lying about me and neglecting me and benefiting at my expense against my consent, who will have their lives damaged to whatever extent by me speaking the truth here, just like I once again won't either. I genuinely, extremely, deeply despise all of them. Since I clearly can't have the actually healthy and loving, genuine life partnership I want and deserve with Kimmy, well, I genuinely don't and won't ever want or tolerate being with anyone else ever, regardless, for any amount of time or for any reason. Literally, no matter who it is or why or any kind of offer they might ever try to present to me at any point in time. Just like I said, I seriously just want nothing more in life anymore than to brutally, thoroughly burn Kimmy's life to the ground in every aspect for very much knowingly and intentionally getting me so unbelievably invested in getting to be with her forever in a genuine and wonderful life partnership she should have known extremely well I've always genuinely wanted most in life, and then just ditching me like a used tampon. Or even so extremely seriously trying to this day to do so. Trying to force some completely garbage friendship on me or act like she did me a favor, putting me through such a hellish nightmare and breaking my heart and being so extremely fake and cruel and narcissistic and controlling and harmful to my existence, and then trying to slander and impersonate me low-key while trying to emotionally destabilize and stress me out into just leaving her alone to be allowed to steamroll over my soul like she clearly has in reality been trying to do for years. But now I have irrefutable video evidence of her in more recent times exposing how she was always just trying to use and abuse and abandon me so she could facilitate her getting to enjoy being with others she clearly was always trying to end up with entirely at my expense and against my consent, while lying that otherwise is the case. Which, by the way, I most certainly will be exposing in much more detail and showing a lot more irrefutable video evidence I'm talking about here, with the path Kimmy's choosing to go down, with the way she's behaving. But that can be for a later release. I don't want to make these several hours long each. You just don't do this to someone. Especially not someone who you meet under the context from the beginning of them boldly, publicly asserting that they are an extremely powerful world leader. That's beyond cold. That's literally blatant death wish behavior. That's unhinged beyond words. There is no good excuse. Literally none whatsoever. Listen, I don't give a damn in the slightest if she has ADHD, depression, anxiety, and like 5 other mental illnesses, plus an eating disorder. She could literally have terminal cancer and it doesn't change anything. It's absolutely unforgivable. Absolutely unforgivable. I don't care what anyone says. I'm genuinely way beyond just heartbroken. Yes, it's really this deep for me. I'm not joking. I would never joke about something like this. It always has been and always will be this deep for me. And that's not going to change no matter how anyone else feels about it. So many goddamn lies I've had to refute time after time. Over the past several years, it just doesn't stop. And instead of getting treated at all decently by Kimmy, even now, after all this time and all I've said and done, she's just continuing to spew more garbage and trying to overwhelm me and drown out her lies with an endless barrage of even more lies. Over 7 years after I first met this woman, and she's still just blatantly, shamelessly trying to control me and ruin my life by constantly lying about me every damn day, privately and publicly, and extremely, meticulously, deviously, selfishly refusing to decisively decide between and actually fully commit to either being an actually decent human being and lover to me, or being actually extremely serious enemies in an actually extremely serious existential war to the literal death in real life. Knowing full well what kind of extremely damaging effect it's been having on my life, that she's so ridiculously, deviously indecisive, and yet trying to laugh it off and shift blame onto me every time I confront her about the reality of things. And then, after brutally, viciously tormenting the hell out of me like this for so long, even after all this and still seeing I've always meant what I've been saying with my last release, she's only just trying to fully commit to making a complete mockery of my existence and trying to force me to accept being robbed of my soul by her? As if I owe her or anyone else that when it couldn't be further from the truth? It's her that owes me her life at this point, not the other way around. What in the bloody hell is this? What? Alright then. Well, I'll have to keep showing her you can't lie extremely badly in all kinds of ways about someone, especially someone extremely powerful, and then try to strip them of all their power forcefully and literally try to ruin their entire life and actually cause them to end up physically deceased in real life because you're extremely selfish and unhinged and feel entitled to getting to do that. It's not really that complicated. Just don't act Like an extremely blatantly psychotic, unhinged, narcissistic, stupid piece of complete trash with an extremely serious death wish? And then you can expect not to get confronted for exceedingly unacceptably viciously scummy, unhinged behavior deserving of having your entire life thoroughly, brutally, meticulously destroyed in every way. Having a social media presence and some celebrity friends doesn't suddenly make you the ruler of the world. Believing it does is called having a gigantic ego and being extremely selfish and unhinged and arrogant and delusional and extremely severely, unacceptably mentally ill and very much knowingly and intentionally in massive denial. There have been a lot of really random things Kimmy's talked about over time that, if not hurtful, were just really random to me, and I really didn't care for them. But obviously, I won't be trying to remember or mention my lack of interest in all of them right now. For now, I'll just focus on going over things that somehow seem really relevant in more recent times to make sure I've clearly publicly stated my feelings and position on them. I really can't know if it's just a huge act, like so much else she does in her content, or if it's actually at all a genuine reflection of her real life. But if it's real, I'd say it's good that it seems more recently Kimmy's at least a little more selective with which phone calls she answers and when. I don't have and have never had her number. And I shouldn't have to pay anything or put in some massive effort to try to figure it out by force or something. She's not just telling me personally, and I don't know of it being leaked. And I can't really see it going anywhere trying to talk to her that way, even if it was leaked. So that doesn't even matter. And nobody calling her could even possibly be operating with any secret information about me or what I'm doing that's actually true. It seems like maybe there's some hidden meaning Kimmy associates with showing herself playing with certain fidget toys in her content. I don't know what exactly those meanings would be, but there's no toy she could ever play with that appeases me or forces me to have to change who I am or what I'm doing. That's for sure. It seems it's relevant to put it out there that I'm not currently watching any anime, I'm not interested in starting, and I haven't watched anime in many years now. I don't have a problem with it or people who watch it in general. It's just never been a big part of my life to begin with, and on top of that, I've been far too busy with real life and fighting against all the insanity that vicious, selfish people have been inflicting on me for me to have any time or energy to waste watching anime. I don't really have much time for relaxation or entertainment of any kind in general. I don't watch really any content of any kind anywhere just for entertainment anymore. Like, ever. And as far as for reasons that aren't just entertainment, there's really no compelling or adequate reason for me to ever watch anime or much of any other content either besides Kimmy's content. And that is so I can figure out what she's lying about next, so I can expose her harder for what she's been doing to me. I have no particular interest or desire in seeing Kimmy start or continue watching any anime or playing any video game. I never have in the entire time I've known she exists. I don't benefit and am not appeased at all by Kimmy talking about, watching, contemplating on, or otherwise interacting with any anime or video game. For some strange reason, Harry Potter has came up to me seemingly randomly several times over time in Kimmy's content throughout the years. Although she doesn't really seem all that into it, to be completely honest, from what I can tell. Very strange to me. It seems worth mentioning that I do not, never have, and never will care for Harry Potter. Same kind of situation has been happening with Pokemon, and my perspective and feelings about Pokemon are the same as well. Although I maybe have a little bit of a hint of an idea why that one might be happening, but I don't care for indulging in that really. Let's just say I'm not, never have been, and never will be interested in that person. It seems worth mentioning that I have no particular favorite snack, whether for the purposes of comfort or coziness or otherwise. I don't clearly understand any particular meaning behind any random cravings or obsessions with random foods that Kimmy has ever had or might ever have moving forward. There is not and has never been anything I care for or benefit from Kimmy eating or drinking specifically. There has only been one occasion Kimmy started showing cravings where I saw a possibly serious low-key implication being made. I'll just roll the clip.
Okay, I will say Doritos are the most normal thing I ate tonight. Have you ever had pickles and peanut butter? No, that sounds gross. What the heck? Who the heck would eat pickles and peanut butter? Okay, one more. If I ever have pickles and peanut butter in my household, I'll try it for you guys. Okay, one more. It's a common pregnancy craving. Maybe I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant. Okay. Now, are you guys ready for the ASMR stream to begin? I feel like that was 46 minutes of trolling around. Well, I mean, I wasn't trolling around, like these are actually legitimate recipes. But I'm just saying. Oh, it's so spicy. I'm not sure I can drink this anymore. Okay.
I've already talked in detail about my perspective on this in the last release, what this is not. And I won't be repeating everything I said again, but since I didn't provide the clip for evidence and context in that one, and I've started showing evidence now, well, now it's at least certainly clear, for the record, that I wasn't expressing that concern for no reason, or out of some kind of knowledge of secret information or something, as if I was told it in private. I wasn't. Just so we're completely clear. I just saw the stream that clips from, and it deeply concerned, disturbed, and disappointed me. It seems really important to me to mention that it doesn't change anything that Kimmy tries to keep her streams, what she refers to being, as comfy as possible. I haven't been putting such an immense effort just to see her be comfy or cozy on stream. Or even just in general in life as a whole, for that matter. Don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm particularly trying to make her uncomfortable either, or want her to be really unpleasant publicly or privately in general, but I'm left extremely deeply disturbed and uncomfortable as a whole in my life with how Kimmy remains so distant and extremely severely resistant to a healthy embrace of her connection with me. All she seems to really care about, as far as I can tell, is her personal comfort in the moment and how supposedly comforting she appears to be publicly, rather than actually being at all comforting and warm and loving towards me, privately or publicly. The way she's acting, I'm not comfortable at all, and I will never be comfortable. And it really doesn't matter how cozy or comfy or whatever else Kimmy ever tries to make any of her content anywhere for any reason. I don't talk in Kimmy's Twitch chat. I don't leave comments on her YouTube videos, whether it's her ASMR channel or any other channel. I don't need or care for her trying to welcome me to chat or comment in any way. Especially not in some strange, pretentious kind of way where she's calling me uncomfortable or even just seriously treating me like I am, but almost forcing herself to be welcoming of some kind of comfort from me despite that. And even if she's not having that kind of attitude, that still doesn't change if she's going to treat me the way she's been treating me. Completely refusing to properly, directly communicate with me. I have no need, desire, or intention to ever say anything in her chat or leave any kind of post on any of her social media or content anywhere ever again if she's really going to continue like this. And in that case, we're really going down the extremely dark path. Because she certainly isn't acting like she seriously wants or intends to actually seriously start treating me like she wants and is after the same kind of connection I've been after having with her. She just seems to want to control me and make me her slave. So, since that's definitely never happening, the extremely dark path is all that's really left. It doesn't mean anything to me if she has chill or cozy or comfy or whatever streams. And the fact that I don't try to aggressively screw up her content or attack her publicly somehow through her own or her friend's content doesn't mean she or anyone else has my consent or cooperation or any kind of deal with me for anything. I just know better than to do stalkerish things that she can slander me further with and abuse to warp the narrative of the reality of my character and what she's been doing to me further than she already massively has tried to over the years. I've seen how she blatantly, deviously goes well out of her way, repeatedly, constantly, to try to provoke behavior that she can try to pretend makes me seem unstable, unhinged, mentally ill, and toxic, and then acts like she doesn't want or enjoy it, or as if that's just who I am, or I benefit somehow from reacting in those kind of ways. When in reality, I certainly don't enjoy this. I don't act this way normally, and I've only ever been hurting extremely badly because of her when I've ever done things like that in the past, and she only hurt me more because of it every time, even if she knew very well that it wasn't coming from a place of toxicity or fakeness. Since Kimmy clearly has no real desire or intent to properly, directly communicate with me like a decent human being and mature adult she should be, and even knowing full well the truth of what's been happening all these years, she clearly has no genuine desire or intent to properly, seriously pursue embracing the life partnership I've been repeatedly saying for years I've always wanted with her, and clearly won't ever tolerate letting her get away with denying me of. I will not stop attacking her in the most potent ways I can until she ends up decisively losing the extremely serious, brutal, existential war she clearly is extremely deviously, disingenuously lying she isn't trying to commit to waging against me, the way she's acting. That way, her endless attempts to extremely, deviously, completely selfishly steal, destroy, and end my life and give me less than nothing in return are put to an end once and for all definitively, at any cost. Because I'm not some pathetic loser, and I'm really not trying to have my life controlled and destroyed and ended so this woman can be bloody cozy. Okay? Or whatever the hell else she wants to say that at all contradicts the extremely clearly defined intent behind what I've been doing that I've already stated abundantly, thoroughly, meticulously clearly in my last release, What This Is Not. Okay? I literally named it What This Is Not. And for over 2 hours, I meticulously went to great lengths to break down exactly all kinds of lies that have been being told, and exactly that they are all not true whatsoever. And I extremely clearly stated, meticulously in detail, exactly what the truth is of what I'm doing here. I'm not married. I've never been married. I'm not engaged, and I've never been engaged either. I will never even remotely consider marrying anyone except Kimmy, and you will never hear otherwise from me. Believe me. And since I seriously never want children with anyone, I don't see desire or willingness for marriage as desire or willingness for having children either. I see it purely as expressing the reality of how intense my eternal desire for frequent, tender sexual intimacy at length, every day forever with Kimmy, really is and will forever be. I don't have children. I can count on my fingers the total amount of times I've ever had any kind of physical sexual intimacy with someone in my entire life. Every time was with a cis woman, an escort to be exact, with absolutely no exceptions. I've literally never even had bareback intercourse with a woman, ever. Much less came inside a woman. I've meticulously checked the rubber every time in the limited times I've even penetrated a woman at all, and it's never torn or broken. Never. I am absolutely certain. It's impossible I've ever impregnated anyone. I don't really crave or particularly care for bareback intercourse either. I'm actually quite put off by it with any woman that's fertile and capable of giving birth at all. And I'm not nearly so enticed by it that I'd go seek out elderly women just so I can have it with someone infertile. I'd really rather not start going into elaborate detail on my sexual desires, but since that's clearly also an area people lie about me in, among other things, I'm just going to mention plainly that I've been honest when I've privately said to Kimmy, also even in front of her associates before, by the way, that what I fantasize about and crave most, by far, way more than anything else in life, is rubbing up against Kimmy's latex-clad butt at length, even well past the point I'm climaxing after there's nothing left to come out. It's kind of weird to be super into that, I guess. But I mean, it's not like it's super freaky or anything. I'm not ashamed of it. It's just kind of awkward to share with people, since I really don't feel like it should be necessary to inform people in detail of things you're into sexually, and I definitely wouldn't find it appropriate or necessary to share if I didn't have so many people lying so badly about me publicly and privately. It's not the only thing I could enjoy, obviously. Latex clothing doesn't have to be involved all the time. It's just something I'd really like and prefer and enjoy much more with it there than otherwise. And I don't only want to rub up on her butt, as perfect as it is, but I have an extremely high sex drive, and absolutely none of it at all correlates to any desire for children. Like, literally absolutely none whatsoever. In fact, in all honesty, I find it quite hot, and I'd even say very much ideal, if a woman specifically enjoys pleasuring me immensely at length, frequently, every day, how I most enjoy, to the point she specifically takes great pleasure in bringing me so much pleasure, I am denied of ever having any kind of sexual intimacy with anyone that would ever even possibly result in me having children, despite me technically being capable of it if I wanted. Again, that's kind of weird, I guess. But I wouldn't say it's super freaky, and I don't see it from any kind of sadistic or masochistic perspective. I really want to make sure I've said something extremely clearly here. I'm seriously not attracted to men. At all. I've never been attracted to men. I will never be attracted to men. I have never dated or been interested in or willing to date or do anything sexual or romantic with men. No matter how Kimmy or anyone else ever treats me, the reality of this is not ever gonna change. Nor would I rather have it any other way. I haven't ever even once been formally employed in my life, although that's been by choice and not out of a lack of ability, I chose to pursue greatness instead and give it every bit of time and energy I have, even if that means really struggling sometimes. I don't have any employment currently, and I'm in a brutally difficult position to get any kind of even remotely worthwhile employment for my skill set. My best prospect by far is pursuing what I've had in mind for a long time and have sacrificed so much to be able to have a real chance at succeeding at. Becoming a game dev CEO and maybe some kind of content creator on the side. I've never even once received any kind of compensation, monetary or otherwise, for all the effort I've put in pursuing Kimmy over the years. Because I've never been willing to settle for less than what I deserve. And I will never sell my soul, no matter what. Even if a professional opportunity working under someone arose somewhere for me right now, I wouldn't want to or have to tolerate taking it. Especially if I don't get the kind of life partnership I want and deserve with Kimmy first. Even then, I really don't see any adequate reason not to just finally continue pursuing my game development prospects that have been getting suppressed and sabotaged badly for the last several years because I had to basically completely put them on hold because of what Kimmy was putting me through the whole time and to this very day. I'm not lazy or incompetent, and I know it. I know how hard I work every day, and I can tell when people are forced to pay attention whether they like it or not. I'm never settling for less than I know I'm worth and deserving of, no matter what anyone thinks. If they can't see my vision like I can, I'll just prove them wrong. And even if I can't get what I want and deserve, no matter how hard I try, then I'll just spare no cost to seriously pursue extremely brutal retribution on all those that went to such great lengths to unapologetically benefit off denying me of it. But believe me, it's not nearly as easy as I probably make it seem. I'm literally homeless and eating out of trash cans to survive. If I'm lucky, I occasionally get my hands on some donated food I can eat, or someone nice decides to randomly do a good deed and give me some free food directly. But most of the time, I'm eating out of trash cans. It wasn't always to the point of having to almost always eat out of the trash like this, and it won't be for much longer either way, since I'll be getting back on welfare soon, until I can finally start stabilizing my financial situation. But even with welfare, I still have to dig through the trash sometimes, since even just with food and some basic expenses like my server for my website and little things, a few $100s a month isn't really much. But my blood boils every time I think about why I haven't even gotten that few hundred for the last few months. I won't go off on all the kinds of insane abuse my parents have put me through right now. I could easily talk for hours about what kind of nightmare I've survived in that regard alone. And perhaps I will in a later release. But let's just say that after giving my biological father countless chances over multiple years to treat me with any serious respect and decency and not act like an extremely abusive, toxic, narcissistic piece of complete garbage, and him miserably failing every time and me completely cutting him and every member from his side of the family off from my life completely permanently as a result, I decided to try giving one of my uncles from my mother's side a final chance to see if she or her family had changed at all in the years I didn't speak to them. In what should have perhaps come as no surprise to me, they hadn't changed. That uncle, he underhandedly, disingenuously tried to force me to reconnect with my mother. He tried to get me to accept it having shoved down my throat that I made a mistake cutting her out of my life long ago. Despite me describing at length how extremely toxic and abusive she was to me, extremely often. And he confirmed to me that to this day, she still insists on trying to save face for herself at my expense by massively warping the narrative about how things were in my childhood to him and the rest of her family. He'd try to justify her behavior to me and deviously try to shift blame onto me and make me believe I was at fault for standing up for myself against her narcissistic abuse. As if her going through a hard time justifies her being a horrible person to her vulnerable children. But the extremely hard times she was putting me through doesn't even justify me standing up for myself rightfully in the healthiest, most mature possible way against the primary source directly causing literally constant immense stress and leaving me in perpetual fight or flight mode in massive anxiety all the time, even when I'm at home, making me feel deeply upset, unsettled, and unsafe at all times. Disgusting, pathetic, and narcissistic of him. Fake piece of garbage. He treated me horribly, was extremely manipulative and deviously abusive about it, and must have secretly known how much of a scumbag he was being, because he didn't even want me to mention in anything I put out ever that his name is John. Screw him. He's a goddamn scumbag piece of trash. I don't want to come off like I'm disingenuously validating him or something by publicly stating his last name, but I've shared it privately before with Kimmy and her associates, along with multiple other extremely shady details of his life in a document I shared for them to give to the FBI. Because why the hell not? So, they know I'm not lying. I can tell you that much. Anyways, that piece of garbage uncle of mine, John, he disingenuously talked like he was doing me a favor, trying to give me an opportunity to work on my game development prospects without having to endure homelessness, like he was genuinely looking out for my best interests. But when I told him about how my reputation in life was being relentlessly, viciously attacked, the prick told me, "What reputation?" extremely pretentiously, and drove me away by deviously, disingenuously insisting that I gave up on game development because he viciously refused to acknowledge that it's extremely stupid and futile to even focus on it if my reputation and life is being extremely, brutally, viciously, relentlessly sabotaged in a highly relevant adjacent field of streamers and YouTubers and across multiple highly influential figures in the online gaming space. He insultingly, extremely severely looked down on my immense efforts to defend my reputation as flirting with Kimmy. Despite the lengths I went to try to explain to him the reality of the situation I'm in and how I've been finally reaching the point where I no longer have to tolerate this extreme abuse to seemingly no end. What a goddamn prick. Instead of seeing the objectively sound reasoning and maturity I was demonstrating for what they are, he insisted on trying to label me as mentally ill and unstable. He tried to force me to seek mental health diagnosis and treatment with the poison they call medication. He constantly tried to gaslight me that I'm delusional and unreasonable and immature and toxic. and then hired a hitman to try to eliminate me after I walked out of that extremely toxic environment he was trying to trap me in. Seriously, a disgusting, pathetic piece of garbage loser. This is the kind of trash I have as biological family members. He even forced me to switch Ontario Works offices before showing just how massive of a snake he really is. After he screwed me over as hard as he did before I cut him out of my life. I've been so busy working on this podcast and surviving and other things ever since I realized shortly after that I'm going to have to go to this kind of extent to defend my life against many that seek to harm and destroy me daily, that I didn't even have the time or energy to transfer my file to my old office for quite some time. And I'm still now waiting for my interview to get back on welfare. So I'm not even getting the little bit it would give me again yet. Pretty much ever since a bit before I turned 18, it's like life just pummeled me nonstop with one brutal curveball after the other in like every aspect of life. It's so much I don't see it even possibly being something I'd go into great depth in right now. But like all my blood relatives I ever felt like I might be able to say I know or could or should be able to depend on at all have always extremely severely looked down on me, treated me like I'm an idiot, screwed me over extremely badly in different ways, and ultimately left me out in the cold on the streets in the middle of winter to die. I have extremely serious reason to suspect that one of the hitmen I've almost gotten killed by at one point was hired by one of my uncles. Oh, and probably another by my father. And like I said, many of the rest, I don't even know by who. My longtime ex-friends from high school I cut out of my life literally over a decade ago are massive snakes, liars, and losers too, that lied that I was dating someone I've never even gotten close to dating in my life, who has actually, in reality, literally done nothing but hurt me extremely badly from as brutally humiliating of a distance as possible, and literally tried her hardest to viciously, brutally, thoroughly, meticulously ruin anything and everything good in my life and destroy my mental, physical, and spiritual health completely in every way she could. Extremely deviously. Yet another massive piece of garbage narcissist cursing my existence with their fakeness, toxicity, and abusive attitudes and behavior I never wanted, needed, deserved, or enjoyed. Since some already know her name, to be clear, the massive piece of garbage narcissist I'm talking about is named Chloe. But I'm not trying to validate her pathetic, disgusting existence either, so you don't need to worry about that nobody loser scumbag either. Just know she's a massive piece of garbage psychopath narcissist and deserves extreme hatred and to meet an extremely brutal early demise in real life. It's extremely painfully clear to me that she so unbelievably, disgustingly enjoys controlling and hurting people extremely badly that she went well out of her way back in high school to try to make me become forever, incomparably, extremely obsessed with her body to the point that she seriously wants me to extremely, desperately chase her even now in what is at this point completely objectively sound to assert as unquestionably extremely obvious complete futility. As if I'm an extremely pathetic loser that ever wanted or deserved or had to tolerate that. and validate all the extremely false notions and narratives and straight up lies she and others have been saying about me behind my back in relation to her. I don't even know many of the details of them, to be completely honest, because it's not like anyone involved in this whole situation in any way communicates even remotely properly with me. Like, ever. But that piece of garbage clearly never gave a damn in the slightest what I want. So it's about time, in fact long overdue I'd say, that I start to show her how it feels. And make sure that trash stays out of my life and faces the extremely dark and brutal consequences she deserves for being the massive piece of trash she is and clearly will forever be. All in due time. I'm actually just completely done trying to warn her or show her kindness and try to encourage her to show me respect and decency and fairness and love she should have been eager to give me already long ago. Especially when she's already made it even more extremely painfully abundantly clear than Kimmy has that all I've ever gotten from her, really, is extremely psychotic, narcissistic, unhinged, controlling attitudes and behavior and undeserved fakeness and toxicity. It's extremely obvious to me that Chloe is fully, consciously, and intentionally actively trying to massively misrepresent the kind of connection with her she's inflicted on me. With her recent, sudden, extremely strange and completely off-brand and out-of-character tendency to mess around with the black and dark red color combination, as well as trying to make me jealous, possibly dating someone else or hinting at heading in that direction, as if I should be missing her and fighting for her attention or affection, with her disgustingly flaunting being at peace with me no longer caring to even try to see a good side to her that she has at this point extremely painfully clearly abundantly objectively thoroughly meticulously proven to me never really existed at all. Me fully internalizing that I deserve better and thoroughly, meticulously invalidating any false notions about the extremely, severely miserable, ridiculously distant, and misrepresented connection I had with her, and finally kicking her out of my life for good, with no doubts or regrets, and being unwilling to act in a way that ever again even remotely let her try to lie things like that we are or ever did or ever will date or have any kind of connection on good terms, with her being as blatantly, unapologetically toxic and distant as she's always been towards me, that completely does not leave even the slightest room for an even remotely healthy connection ever between us. That gives her peace? Really? Okay then. I see how it is. I've really been right about her all along. She can have her peace, then, being the massive piece of garbage she clearly is and will forever be, and end up dying alone, or being in some miserable trash relationship with whatever loser is pathetic and toxic enough to date such an extremely fake, toxic, pathetic piece of trash like her. She can go continue being extremely severely pathetic and miserable with her insanely, unacceptably massive ego for the rest of whatever's left of her extremely pathetic life, until I exact extremely brutal retribution on her, rightfully the way that an extremely disgusting, pathetic, nobody piece of garbage like her deserves, out of even remotely as much of a public light as I'd give Kimmy. But at the end of the day, clearly, both of these extremely selfish, controlling, narcissistic as hell pieces of trash have to live the remainder of their lives, forever, incomparably, massively regretting that they were extremely, severely, unacceptably, monstrously incapable of ever actually loving and being a decent human being to me, and lost out on what could have been something wonderful if they were an even remotely decent human being. And they'll never see that moving on from all this, that they were hallucinating. I'd let them force me to validate their extreme fakeness and unbelievable toxicity towards me with. I'll never be even remotely close to happy or okay in my life, but I guess at least I'll be exacting a thorough, meticulous retribution on multiple people that have extremely deeply hurt me, without any doubts or regrets, certainly including but not limited to Kimmy and Chloe, and I'll make sure I ultimately still never end up with my soul robbed from me by anyone ever. You know, since Kimmy clearly doesn't have any serious desire or intention to treat me properly either, so that connection is also doomed, I guess. And I seriously meant everything I said and what this is not. I'm meticulously, absolutely, unconditionally unwilling to ever be with anyone else regardless. The only reason I was forced to ever even consider communicating with Chloe ever again in my life after I tried to permanently cut her out when high school ended for me over a decade ago, because I already saw behavior in her that really gave off extremely narcissistic vibes and made me feel like she must really be the person she only really, even more so, completely, thoroughly proved she really always was and always will be. It's because Kimmy was being so strange and lying so badly about me, and I was facing having to constantly combat such extremely false narratives about my life, that it reached a point where I started suspecting I was being sabotaged completely behind the scenes by some scumbag from my past, because of the extent and seeming randomness of the false narratives, and how they'd persist despite me going to great lengths to prove them all wrong, combined with me not wanting to believe Kimmy was actually such a horrible person she'd seriously create or willingly go along with them with complete malice in her heart towards me. Reflecting on the extremely strange behavior Chloe demonstrated extremely distantly online for years after high school, implying she was forming false narratives about me for years behind my back and never really moved on from me having expressed interest in her all those years ago back in high school. Even though she immediately, brutally rejected me in an extremely disturbing and narcissistic style way, with what later became extremely obvious to me was fully conscious and intentional, massive mixed signals, and never acted in any way even remotely conducive of ever having any kind of even remotely pleasant or fulfilling relationship with me at any point. It prompted me to suspect that Chloe was secretly obsessing over me and so insanely jealous and hateful towards me that she was working against me with Kimmy to ruin my life. And Kimmy was secretly using that to her own selfish benefit at the same time to justify treating me so horribly for so long. I don't know if she was before, but Chloe's extremely shady behavior after I expressed my suspicion certainly proved her personality was very much inclined to such extremely screwed up, narcissistic stalker behavior. And Kimmy's extremely severe lack of communication throughout the entire time from the day I met her certainly doesn't help, and only ultimately means it's Kimmy's fault more than anything for knowingly letting any lies Chloe or anyone else from my past has been trying to ruin my life, warping narratives about me with, to become exacerbated. In the entire time Kimmy was directly communicating with me in the beginning of our connection, Kimmy never even once, even remotely clearly expressed to me any concern that someone from my past was claiming I'm dating them or talking to them or expressing any kind of desire towards them or have any kind of past with them that might ever get in the way of my connection with her. So if it was happening, I was never even given a real opportunity to easily, thoroughly prove anyone potentially doing so is completely lying. Given how blatantly even Kimmy herself has at this point quite unapologetically proven she had extremely toxic and controlling tendencies herself to begin with, I'm now left believing it's at least equally likely, if not even more likely, that Chloe wasn't even initially involved, and Kimmy really was just that viciously narcissistic about deviously slandering me and misrepresenting the reality of my character and my feelings for her. Because she always had planned to use and hurt me extremely badly and try to completely control my life for her own selfish gain. And she just hurt me so much I never wanted or deserved, to the point that I started becoming paranoid about a past wound Chloe had left in my life. And Kimmy basically just brutally ripped it back open and just saw it as an opportunity to even more viciously benefit, completely at my expense and completely against my consent, even further, and brutally, completely destroy my life instead of having any kind of truly healing positive effect on my life in any way. I don't even care anymore whether or not Chloe was involved from the very beginning. I already know with absolute certainty that it's not even remotely possible I could ever have anything even remotely resembling a healthy or even tolerable relationship of any capacity with Chloe. Even if she desperately reached out to me at this point and begged profusely in the most convincing possible way for me to give her another chance. Maybe it'd be possible for Kimmy, for just a little while longer, if she really tried hard enough and genuinely cared enough. Although I'm certainly done holding my breath for that, and the way she's been acting, it seems quite extremely painfully clear to me that she pretty much certainly won't and doesn't. But there's definitely already literally absolutely no hope whatsoever for Chloe, no matter what. And I'm sure she knows it extremely clearly too. So, being the massive scumbag piece of trash she is, I'm not surprised she's even still now trying to control and ruin my life with extremely devious, massive misrepresentations of things and trying to get me to desperately, extremely pathetically beg her for warmth in what she in reality knows I should know extremely painfully clearly by now is sheer futility. Because she desperately wants validation that I ever wanted or deserved the way she treats me. It's never happening. I have no friends and no real support system. I haven't for many years already now. Because of the massive slander Kimmy's been doing of me and facilitating others to do of me, the general public wrongly sees me as some extremely creepy, mentally unstable stalker, loser idiot that deserves to lose my life in a brutally humiliating way and not be given any real love, trust, respect, or empathy whatsoever from anyone. As if I'm some horrible psychopath, schizo, narcissist maniac that deserves even worse than what I'm dealing with right now. The fact that I'm currently left fighting for my life every day in the most brutal of circumstances against the entire world like this is all first and foremost mainly because I spent the last 7+ years of my life seriously, extremely loyally pursuing the life partnership I've always wanted with Kimmy, with complete focus and literally nothing else, and been meticulously unwilling to sell my soul for anything, no matter how hard things have gotten. To this day, and they've gotten extremely difficult, and to this day are extremely difficult to even just survive day by day. But I'm never giving up on myself. I would never kill myself, and I'm not suicidal in the slightest. But I'd genuinely rather literally die in real life than ever give up on myself. Failure is not an option here for me. If I really don't get the genuinely fair and loving life partnership with Kimmy that I've always wanted and clearly deserve, then screw her and all of her friends too. And I'm actually viciously destroying the lives of everyone that hurt me so much, and I'm never regretting it or looking back or giving any sympathy or pity or any of those kinds of things ever again to anyone that at all contributed to doing this to me. Since Kimmy clearly just wants to be worse and worse to me and just try to disingenuously screw around with indecisiveness and avoid making a decision so long she's trying to brutally, completely control my life and act like I was a liar and a bad person somehow in my claims of how seriously I've always taken my connection with her, trying to make me seem like I wanted or deserve her to reject me in the end or be entitled to treating me however the hell she wants in some garbage relationship she might try to force on me on her terms, if that. I'm actually completely done having hope that things will change. They clearly won't. So now, I'm just going to accept that since Kimmy seriously seems clearly, in reality, extremely brutally, absolutely, unconditionally, completely unwilling to ever act like an even remotely decent human being towards me and actually treat me with the love and respect I deserve, it's just never happening. And I must head down the extremely dark path I've been threatening to for what clearly was way longer than I should have given her chances to prove there was ever any real chance I wouldn't have to end up going down. It might seem crazy or be hard to understand for most people, but if this is really how things are, I'd genuinely never even consider living any other way, no matter how hard it ever gets. Kimmy knew from the very beginning that my primary professional prospects and focus from a young age was game development. She constantly lied about me and sabotaged and suppressed my ability to have an even remotely decent public image in my field and relevant fields. She kept backstabbing me and brutally trying to sabotage and control my life even when I showered her with genuine love and affection for years. Every time I tried to leave her alone because she kept calling me a goddamn stalker after begging for my attention more and seeming heartbroken and devastated at the prospect of me cutting her out of my life, she wouldn't let me. and she'd massively warped my reasoning for trying to establish healthy boundaries in the connection, like claiming I'm attracted to men or was trying to use her all along. If I was even a little seriously distant. And no matter how much I proved my feelings for her were sincere, she'd then just lie even more and say I only ever expressed those feelings because I felt forced. As if even knowing I literally touch myself fantasizing about her daily isn't enough to prove that I genuinely have always wanted the frequent intimacy and genuine warm connection I've been saying I've always wanted with her. This is blatant, extreme abuse of her position of status and massive coercion. She's seriously trying to force me into some extremely pathetic submission I should never be in a position to have to submit to her in at all. But when I'd maturely confront her for acting so extremely mentally ill and psychotic and unhinged and abusive, she'd play victim and act like I'm being unreasonable and mentally ill in having boundaries and requiring a solid stance from her on her feelings for me and what kind of connection she expects to have with me. This kind of unbelievable hot and cold attitude towards me made our connection so rough from the beginning, and was the reason I initially tried to distance myself from her early on. After one point where I learned she'd actually been lying to me and involving herself with someone else romantically behind my back. Someone I had specifically suspected her of doing so and had questioned her about, and she denied right to my face. You know what? She even admitted this publicly. So I'll just roll the clip.
We know if you're single, it's by choice, lol. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. I've been single for literally 3 years in a row. Ever since it's like weird. I'm the type who likes dating constantly. Like, I always like being in a relationship. So I've dated so many people up until I started streaming. Once I started streaming, I haven't had a boyfriend. I've gone on dates, and I've had friends try to set me up with people, and I've like seen people, but I've never had a boyfriend. The only person I was really invested in, we were long distance and it didn't work out, TLDR. So, what can you do? What can you do? What do you mean don't have a boyfriend? Twitch your boyfriend now, Kappa. I know, you guys, buying me everything. Getting a manicure tomorrow and some beanies. Been single for years. Feels bad, man. That's okay. That's okay. Are you ever gonna date Pants? Pants? He's the one that I wanted to date, but he said that the long distance, like he couldn't handle the long distance. So, I mean, I really wanted to date Pants though. Don't tell him that. He doesn't know. I do not want to play Thresh. Oops. Ooh, yes. Hell yes. Give me that, Zyra. Dude, Pants is so cute though. Like, he's legit like so cute. So for my ASMR videos, he's been like literally spamming me. Okay, I actually just saw his messages now because I was locked out of my Discord for the past month because I forgot my password and the CAPTCHA. I couldn't get past the freaking CAPTCHA. So I literally haven't been logged into my Discord for a month. So I logged in just now to check, to enter the girl Discord. And I see like 25 missed messages from Pants. and he's spamming me, and he's like, why aren't you putting ads on your ASMR videos? You're missing out on so much money. Like, oh my god, like, I'm gonna message this person for you, I'm gonna get your ad set up for you, you have to do this, make sure this is checked, like, do this and this, and then like and he's just spamming me like, why aren't you putting ads on your video? You're like, oh my god. And I'm like, oh, that's so cute. He's like, him and Jeremy, Gaming Curious, Jeremy also reached out to me, and he's like, girl, you're freaking goofing. And I'm like, I can't, like, YouTube basically hasn't accepted my monetization request, so I can't put ads on my video, like, even like if I wanted to. Although, like, I don't really mind, because I feel like it feels more organic, making videos without like looking for money through them, if that makes sense. Like, it feels organic and it feels good, so I don't really mind making ASMR videos without money, because I mean, I genuinely do like pants. Oh my god, not like this. Oh my god, you guys are so oh my god. Lol. Oh my god. Pants, I didn't want to tell you this way. Oh shit. That's so call Pants, he's crying. Pants is the one that got away. Nothing he says will make it feel better. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Hi Quins, welcome back. Dodging the statement. What was the statement again? I must have missed it. Oh shit. I don't need no health relic, you can have it. I'll just ignore this happen and continue what we have right now. Alright, Pants, I appreciate that. My heart is too broken from you rejecting me, Pants. I'm finally happy with this friendship we have together.
If you pay attention, you'll notice the chatter, Angel's shattered wings. That was me. Yes, she let me use that name in her chat. For many months, she would directly, privately communicate with me in Discord DMs, replying to pretty much anything I'd say to her before and after I changed my name to that from Shattered Wings Dev. But she never even once expressed being at all upset about it to me, and actually seemed happy that I did it, and talked in her channel with that name for several months afterwards as she continued to give me attention publicly and privately. Again, despite us obviously never dating at any point, I never even tried to act like we were either. I never called her baby or honey or my girlfriend or anything, publicly or privately, and never acted like I knew personal stuff about her or she was giving me any kind of special treatment or anything. Because she wasn't. For a long time, I really didn't know what she was thinking. Letting that happen and saying nothing about it publicly or privately and not banning me from her channel after seeing it. But after seeing how things have turned out, clearly she was thinking really screwed up, narcissistic, selfish, dark things. Anyways, after that incident, I decided she was acting way too shady overall, and I just wanted to distance myself from all that insane toxicity that was greatly hindering my work on my game development, time and energy-wise, and producing nothing good for me whatsoever, while she was clearly enjoying herself and benefiting off my suffering. By the time she'd started doing really shady things like sub-speed dating and acting like I ever thought I could force her to date me or something, when I obviously didn't ever talk to her that way publicly or privately, I'd just started feeling really upset, disturbed, disappointed, and heartbroken every time I was interacting with her. I honestly just thought that if she wanted to remain distant with me like she had been, she'd have talked to me and probably banned me from her channel or told me I need to leave her alone right after that name change. I would have respected her wishes and left if she'd just done that like a mature, reasonable adult with even a semblance of sanity, if she really didn't like me. But instead, she chose to be extremely shady, and her mixed signals had started seeming rather intentional to deviously facilitate her using me to advance her career completely at my expense and against my consent. So, it seemed just realizing she's a really fake piece of garbage scumbag that only ever wanted to use and hurt me was the way to deal with her, as I'd cut her out of my life and focus on my professional prospects entirely without her or anyone else's help. Since I never needed or intended to use her or anyone else anyways. I wish I'd saved the clip of what happened not very long after, but unfortunately, I didn't. Back then, after I saw how she was on the verge of tears, having an actual mental breakdown in public, in front of hundreds of people live on her stream within less than 2 months, I was genuinely extremely deeply touched. I tried reaching out to her and pouring my heart out to her and trying to show her she's safe to warm up to me, and I genuinely meant what I told her early on about my feelings for her. Actually, I have her reaction to that, which happened shortly after the initial mental breakdown. I'll roll that clip.
I feel like whenever I do a 4 Tetris instead of 5 Tetris, I feel like I'm settling. Like, you know, like whenever you find like the perfect girl or guy in your life, but then like you just decide to settle. Wait, what am I saying? I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I can't feel my face right now because I am going insane. Don't know what I'm saying or where I am in my life. What am I doing with my life? Can you guys believe that right now I'm debating paying $12,000 to break my lease so I can live in a streamer house and be a happy family and make content? $12,000. Obviously I wouldn't be paying it alone, like, you know, I'd be paying it with Leslie and Jamie, but still we collectively had to pay $12,000 to, you know, cover our rent and like, wait, how did that get there? What is happening? Why am I playing this? Am I even having fun right now? Like, if we look at the big picture in life, like oh, sorry. Did I say that stuff out loud? Alright, yeah, so as I was saying, yeah, everything is peachy fine. And Jake is not confirmed to live with us. We're just kind of memeing it right now because we think it'd be pretty fun to live with him, but at the end of the day, his content is in Japan, so there's like a conflict of content going on. So we're not sure if that's gonna end up working out or not. Thank you, Dead Man Walking. We do think that we could work really well with Jake potentially, but just depends on him, and if we can even get this house. We might not even be able to get this house because of complications that suck. It's fine. It's fine though. Don't mind it. I think this is part of the excitement as well. Like being able to house hunt and like dealing with obstacles and whatnot. I think it's all part of the fun. Quote unquote fun. Wait. Because isn't it kind of fun for you guys too? It's like, who are they gonna live with? Like, what's gonna happen? I wonder who they're gonna recruit. This could potentially open up tons of doors into all of our lives. This could potentially change things forever. Forever. Aw, thank you. Thank you.
This was insane. She certainly didn't treat me in private like she felt this way about me. There was absolutely nobody in her life except me who could have been the one she was talking about there either. And it certainly couldn't have been a coincidence that this happened right after I poured my heart out to her like I did that time. For several years that followed, I really tried to understand her attitude as her just genuinely struggling with her mental health and interpersonal relationships with others in her life that were toxic to her. But she'd treat me like complete garbage every time after convincing me to stay in her life and believe there was a warm and loving human being deep inside her behind all that toxicity. No matter how much I proved I really do find her extremely physically attractive and actually was never trying to use her. She was so clearly aware of what she was doing that when I've given even just small sneak peeks of what I was working on at the time in my game Dev Indieverse, she's literally had existential crises on more than one occasion, having mental breakdowns publicly on stream that many of her friends have had to personally witness me addressing in past emails. But instead of sitting her down and telling her she needs to stop acting so cruel and screwed up to me, her friends started blatantly ganging up against me one after the other, going extra hard to try to literally drain every second of my time and energy, lying about me extremely badly, publicly and privately, and trying to invalidate my efforts pursuing Kimmy, while trying to cripple me completely from being able to go anywhere professionally in what I'd been working since childhood to be able to achieve without need for anyone's help. I'm sure they all knew exactly what they were doing. They all treated me like this, despite the fact that I never even said a single thing to many of them before, even once in my life. Until then. And the very few ones that I had, it was very little, just on the surface, harmlessly in public, at whatever time long ago in the past. I've definitely never had any kind of close connection with any of them or screwed any of them over. I never even hated on them for anything until they started doing this garbage to me. But that all clearly never mattered to any of them. Selfish scumbag pricks. All of them. Now, over 7 years after Kimmy first entered my life, not only am I feeling extremely heartbroken at how Kimmy treated me and how she only seems to want to lie increasingly, blatantly, unapologetically, fully knowingly, and intentionally falser things about me, but my integrity and the reality of what I'd consider an existence that's actually tolerable and worth living puts me in a position where I'm effectively the worst of enemies against not just her, but all of her associates, and will be very carefully maintaining heavy distance from anyone even remotely associated with any of them. Now, I have to work against several highly influential figures in the gaming-related space to build up something after practically my entire 20s being stolen by these actual criminals that have been slandering and impersonating me behind the scenes all these years for completely selfish gain, completely at my expense, completely against my consent, who were completely knowingly and intentionally trying to ruin and destroy my life and get me to unalive myself or get unalived by someone else or end up a career criminal in and out of jail or stuck in a mental hospital for life, being forcefully injected with antipsychotics, drastically lowering my lifespan and ability to function. I'm really not trying to turn this podcast into some kind of weird reaction channel thing or some pathetic try-hard chasing Kimmy or raging about her trashy attitude or complaining like a whiny loser repeatedly about what I've now extremely meticulously clearly described I've been thinking, feeling, trying to do, and what kind of life I've been living, and how horrible my life circumstances have been left being as I'm left abandoned by everyone I've ever felt or been close to at all, both offline and online, and left to die as I have to pick myself back up all by myself against horrible odds. Now I have to do game development all on my own, with no warnings or updates to anyone, and one day, seemingly out of nowhere, I'll be bringing considerably increased exposure to this podcast myself, if it hasn't already gotten it before then. This podcast I've chosen to create now, ahead of time, so there's irrefutable evidence of the extent and depth of my efforts and sincerity when that time comes, that I must follow through on my threats and begin destroying Kimmy's life so my own life and self-respect and mental health and reputation and everything are not endlessly thrashed around and trashed, and the last over 7 years of my life weren't all for less than nothing. Kimmy. So, you really want to be this way in the end, no matter what, after all, huh? Really? No amount of clearly genuine love and desire to make this work, and an actually healthy and real relationship actually matters at all to you, huh? It never really did, huh? You've really just been an extremely fake piece of complete garbage, massive narcissist, predatory, psychopath, loser, scumbag this whole time, after all. Oh. Okay. We can really go down the extremely dark path then. You think I was bluffing? Joking? That I'd change my mind or get depressed or some stupid, pathetic garbage? Or I'd be forced to shut up or play nice with you or any of your friends or anyone else? No. And you really should have known better. So we can go down the extremely dark path then. And I really won't ever doubt or regret anything ever again. I shouldn't. Because you clearly want to make it so extremely painfully clear to me what your decision is. What it in reality always was. And you were always just lying extremely badly to manipulate and use me all along that you ever suggested otherwise. You were clearly hoping your abuse destroyed and ended my life before I could expose the truth. Just remember. Remember this time. Remember this moment. Remember the warnings. Remember your decisive decision on what path you chose to go down. Over 7 goddamn bloody, perpetual, sheer, hellish nightmare years. So much stress, so much pain, so much suffering, so much anger and sadness. So many times you broke my heart and backstabbed me and always just kept lying and trying to convince me a side exists to you that clearly in reality never did and never will. Words truly cannot describe how devastated and hurt I am and will forever be by this. I really will never forget. And I really will never let you forget either. You're too busy to show me any respect or decency or actual love. Literally, no matter how much I clearly want and deserve it. Money is basically effectively everything to you. And you really don't care who you hurt or how badly or even how stupid you act or even the clearly objectively demonstrated power and potential for tons of money someone clearly has. As long as you think whatever you're doing is best for you, making money and having whatever else selfish gain in the moment. As I'm getting rich and famous and destroying your life and following through with everything I've said about heading down an extremely dark path and exacting an extremely brutal retribution on you for being this way after everything you've put me through? Remember why it's happening. Remember why you decisively decided to choose to completely deserve every bit of it, beyond any even remotely reasonable doubt. With your actions right now. Actions you can't ever take back or make better later, no matter what anyone says or does. Remember why I'll be too busy to talk to you or any of your friends or anyone else, as I'm thoroughly, meticulously, brutally, completely destroying every part of your life at any cost, just like I swore on my life and on everything that I would. As you desperately struggle to try to drown yourself in distractions and try to forget as your life actually falls apart beyond repair and your life spirals downhill for real and there's nothing and nobody that can really help you or stop it. I'll make sure you remember. No matter what. Really. No matter what. I really will never move on from you. I really will never validate the hellish nightmare you put me through. Things are really never going to be okay. I've seriously always been more attracted to you than I've ever been to anyone, and can ever even remotely fathom it being possible to be to anyone. And there's no way you don't know. And you choose to treat me like this? With this, I'm making sure we're extremely clear here that I'm not happily chilling or sitting back laughing at what's going on right now. You know, since knowing how shamelessly, blatantly, extremely scummy you and your friends are and have been to me for the past several years, you're probably lying to each other that I'm enjoying myself right now, huh? I'm suffering immensely right now. Immensely. But I'm still never giving up. Never giving up on myself, at least. And this is what that looks like. I told you. The liars will only suffer more. The more you lie and try to look down on me and screw me over, the worse it will be for you later. I don't give a damn who you think you are. You aren't the ruler of the world because you have some social media clout and connections with other influential people. I've told you so many times not to have such a huge ego. And don't even think of trying to once again slander me and act like I'm backstabbing you or was always trying to use you or I owe you to back off or change my position or I need you to help me or have some kind of ulterior motives or any garbage like that you're always clearly lying about behind the scenes and then eventually publicly if I push and expose you enough in front of your friends. I do not have to repeat myself over and over about the same things constantly just to try to prove the truth. And I know it. Everything I said in What This Is Not still applies and will continue to apply forever. If I'm not going out of my way to aggressively get this public attention already at any point in time, that doesn't mean anything's changed or changing or at all different from what I've said here. It just means all my plans are still not quite at the stage where I would pursue getting this public attention more aggressively to completely thoroughly destroy your life. But I don't owe it to anyone to tell them when it would be there. And I'm certainly not trying to give people an opportunity to try to stop me from succeeding, which is clearly all warning anyone about things anymore would ever achieve. Especially when I so extremely painfully clearly have literally no friends whatsoever anywhere, and clearly just many, many extremely serious enemies. I'm actually so done repeatedly warning you that you seriously need to start facing the reality of who you are and realize you need to change for the better and start seriously becoming a decent human being if you don't want your life completely destroyed. Fine. Don't change. And just have your life destroyed then. Because you're never going to lie your way into devouring my life and getting away with it. Believe me. I never wanted or deserved to be treated this way, and you can't manipulate or depress me by trying to act like otherwise is the case. It wasn't some stupid, naive, excessive being nice when I gave you extremely clear, plenty adequate warning in front of dozens of your friends and several other influential figures, sharing many details about the kind of direction these are going to end up going in if you continue to disrespect me extremely badly and stay distant and refuse to directly communicate with me, and you instead insist on lying about who I am and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And I certainly wasn't trying to give you or anyone else an opportunity to stop me somehow else either. You are literally choosing to destroy your own life by continuing to refuse to communicate with me properly and fairly. I've made this abundantly clear. I've given you plenty of warnings and behind-the-scenes information over time so that you should know very well how destructive your insane disrespect towards me is going to be for you. So the fact that you're choosing to continue anyway is entirely your fault that you brought this upon yourself. And you have no one to blame but yourself. And now you have to deal with the karma of not listening to me when I gave you the chance to prevent things already starting to go down this path. So if you're really going to continue to be such an extremely unacceptably selfish, unhinged, mentally ill piece of garbage to me, then expect me to treat you like one, and continue to follow through and increasingly escalatingly pursue rightful retribution of thoroughly destroying your reputation, career, and likely ultimately causing you to unalive yourself or get unalived because of how insanely toxic and blatantly, unapologetically, viciously, cruel, and selfish you clearly, actually, seriously, genuinely are, and have always in reality been towards me for the past several years, basically ever since you knew I exist. And since you clearly have massive anger issues, before you start feeling justified, getting an attitude with me, and throwing yourself pity parties, and being even more toxic because I'm confrontational and harsh with you like this, and you clearly don't know or care about how to handle that like a mature adult and decent human being, remember how much I must have always wanted the kind of physical intimacy and meaningful private and public life partnership with you I've been saying all along I have, to have cared so much to make sure you know very well I could have harmed you in various ways and already went in on your life a lot harder, and yet I'm still choosing to act this way, to really show you in front of the entire world how much of a chance you had to prevent things from going down an extremely dark path if you were even a remotely decent human being deserving of avoiding the extremely dark fate you have coming. You're making a choice in a direction I'm extremely, deeply disappointed and disturbed and unhappy about. But that really doesn't seem to actually matter to you. I couldn't be further from happy or even okay, but you don't really seem to care at all. And instead, it's like you're having your unhinged, toxic idea of fun and just plotting how you can try to make it worse every day. I've genuinely been so extremely loving to you this whole time. Genuinely, completely committed to the wonderful life partnership with you I've been saying I've always wanted. I've always been trying to help you out and saving you from the trouble you get yourself in as much as I could. Trying my best to prevent you from getting hurt, even when it hurt me so badly. But it has a limit. A very real limit. I told you, and you're really going too far now. So I'm done. I'm just done. Screw you. And we really can go down the extremely dark path then, since you really don't care. I don't think you're even capable of actually loving or respecting me. What a goddamn bloody piece of trash. Oh. Why was I so cursed to genuinely love someone so garbage like you so much? You're actually the worst. I don't deserve this. I don't want this. It isn't fun. It isn't cute. It isn't hot. It isn't funny. This is extremely unhinged, cruel, psychotic, narcissistic, criminal behavior you're inflicting upon me right now. Completely against my consent. Completely against my wishes and best interests. And no matter how many times or ways I tell you that you need to stop immediately, you don't listen to me. And you think you'll be okay if you continue like this? You think it's a solution to pay some stranger to lie to you that everything's gonna be okay no matter how unhinged and psychotic you act? You don't need to be going to some random person for therapy. Kimmy, you need to be coming to me for therapy. Because you're really that screwed up in the head. Clearly. And what? You think you can do that at your goddamn leisure? No. If you're going to be my worst enemy now, you're my worst enemy later too. And there's no takebacks. If you hadn't so extremely seriously, massively suppressed and sabotaged my life, and I hadn't even somewhat more significantly grown following right now, this would already be a massive public ordeal, and you'd already be unquestionably, brutally, permanently cancelled, and your career would already be completely over, far beyond repair. You'd be lucky if you were still alive. And you completely deserve every bit of what would have happened to you. That's really how bad this is, Kimmy. It really is. And stop trying to pretend you don't know. If you're seriously such a piece of garbage that all this ever was for you was a game, and all you're ever going to do is disingenuously, deviously try to come up with excuses constantly to try to warp the narrative and act like I'm the bad person here, when you clearly only prove every day that you have been the one trying to hurt me all along, then I'm actually so done with acting in a way that you've been ruining my life for years, trying to act like I'm doing for all kinds of different reasons than the one and only reason I've actually been doing it. If you were actually serious about wanting a chance to make things right, then you would just immediately talk to me directly and actually start making things right. Don't go to great lengths going out of your way to try to make me look like a bad person with massive lies about me publicly and privately and massively trying to abuse my feelings for you. Don't try to make it seem like you're desperate for another chance to reach out every time I expose you and call you out, and then never reach out no matter how many chances I give you to start acting like a decent human being towards me. Not try to make it seem like I've ever been interested in any of your friends, or I'm trying to get at someone else while I'm constantly proving I'm not and never was. I know you must be damn well aware by now that you need to understand no amount of supposed loving feelings for me matters if you viciously refuse to show me any real trust and respect. Or at least if you refuse to understand what loving me really should look like for you, and you leave me feeling that you don't really trust or respect me at all because you're not loving me properly. I don't believe that you feel lack of confidence that I want you so badly, and you're actually so much more appealing to me than anyone else. At this point, you trying to claim some kind of insecurity in my feelings is clearly just a blatant excuse you're trying to way too badly take advantage of to try to make me look like a bad person and spin all your horrible lying and cheating and toxic behavior onto me, while I've clearly been a wonderful person all along, not doing any of that garbage. There is no even remotely good reason for you to feel at all insecure. I've always wanted you as badly as I've been saying. None. I've went above and beyond to insane lengths to make absolutely certain that you know how I feel, and it's extremely obvious to you that I don't want or deserve you feeling insecure about my desire for you at all. I've tried extremely hard to comfort you about it in the right way for the longest time, but all I ever see is you not really giving a damn in the slightest, and you trying to somehow spin everything to make me the problem while you've been the problem from the beginning. So I'm just done. The extremely dark path it is done, because I can really only do so much to comfort you in a healthy way when you're viciously unwilling to ever really trust or respect me enough to actually listen to what I'm saying while it would ever matter, and healthily accept the reality while that's at all possible for you. You clearly don't have any real desire or willingness or goddamn capability to actually do so. And I've always been and will always be unwilling to embrace a toxic relationship with you. So that's it. The extremely dark path was how it was always going to be then. I have to destroy your life now at any cost, no matter how much I wish things would have been different. You had a choice, and you made the wrong decision. And you sure as hell aren't treating me like you have any serious desire to prove otherwise. So now, you suffer the consequences for being the irredeemable piece of garbage you clearly are. I'll never let you forget what everything I said in what this is not is, and that it will forever be true. Irrefutably, without question, there will be no room to try to throw shade on me for acting strange. I will not act strange or inconsistent with it. I will extremely, meticulously, be so extremely, painfully, irrefutably, unquestionably, irrevocably, thoroughly consistent with everything, publicly and privately, in every aspect of my life, at all times, that there will be absolutely no room for anyone to doubt any of it, and your life will be destroyed as a result. I warned you. I really did. The world will know whether you or anyone else likes it or not.